Nine cities, nine matches, approximately 8,400 kilometers, and a journey that India, at least they will hope, will take them all the way to the final of the World Cup and hopefully lift it too. It's going to be a journey like none other. If India actually end up at reaching the final, their air miles will be clocked up to 9,700 kilometers. Calculation, I'll be honest, that I haven't done, but one of the guests on our show today, Krishna, has been, using his brains to do it. Welcome to Express Sports Podcast. You're listening to Game Time with me, Mihir Vasavda. Next to me, as always, is Amit Kamath. And joining us this week are two voices that you would have heard in middle of this week. Rahul Pandey and Venkata Krishna, as I mentioned. Rahul and Venkat did give you a quick heads up on the World Cup schedule. What we'll be doing today is understand how the venues were selected, why they were selected, and all the things in between. Before we get into the details, Amit, it just sounds like a very crazy amount of travel. I mean, in a way, it's good that India, from a host point of view, that India will be traveling and playing at almost all venues. I think Hyderabad is the only venue where India won't be playing at the group stage, but it just sounds like a lot of travel. I mean, they'll be starting in Chennai, then moving up north to Delhi. Westwards, they'll march on to Ahmedabad, then to Pune, again to Dharamshala, back to Lucknow, Mumbai, Calcutta, and end their group stage commitments in Bengaluru. That's just tiring.
Just to lend some perspective, the last time India hosted the World Cup, and obviously we know that they ended up winning it, they started their journey in February 19th in Dhaka, went to Bengaluru where they played a game on February 27th, stayed in Bengaluru where they played another game on March 6th, travelled to Delhi where they played a game on March 9th, went to Nagpur where they played a game on March 12th, went to Chennai March 20th, played a game. The group stage ended there, right? By this time, they had played in 5 cities. All of their group stage commitments were over in 5 different cities. Now, March 24th, they are in Ahmedabad playing the quarterfinals. March 30th, they are playing that semi-final against Pakistan in Mohali. And on April 2, they play in Mumbai. So, from February 19 to April 2, they've gone to so many. They've actually traveled much less than they probably have in the group stage in this World Cup.
Yeah, so I mean, we're talking about 1 month and 3 days of group stage matches in this World Cup, and they'll have covered 9 venues. And here we're talking about 1.5 months, and they've covered 8 venues across the length of the tournament. It's interesting how the whole travel bit will impact. But I mean, we'll probably have a lot of time dissecting the World Cup. Today, what we are looking at is basically why India has chosen a particular venue. And I mean, Rahul Pandey, एक तो आपकी घर वापसी हो रही है game time पे. I mean, you're returning after a long time. You have been doing the delivery episodes, and Venkat and you did discuss the whole scheduling of the World Cup. But take us through the logic behind choosing the venues. I mean, the first match is in Chennai against Australia. I mean, why Chennai and why Australia? And I think I'm sure, Venkat, you'll also have a thing or two to say, given that you have been in Chennai all your life and know the stadium like the back of your hand. But Rahul, you first?
Sure, Mihir, and thank you so much for the warm welcome. Of course, as far as India and Australia are concerned, they did play an ODI at this very venue not that long ago, which resulted in a disheartening defeat for India and a series loss. So they will, of course, not forget that. But I think, more than anything else, the point being, which Venkat also mentions in his piece, India are yet to touch a total of 300 at this venue, which gives away the major idea about the wicket that is on the offering. And that deep batting lineup will play a big part in the sense that everyone is going to count. But, more than that, I think it is also going to be interesting that dew, which, is a big factor that time of the year in white ball cricket, will not be in Chennai for this particular contest in early October. And it generally tends to slow down as the game goes on. And I think, that's something that India will really keep their heads on. And Australia being a team with one of the better pace conditioned attacks, I think, this kind of a surface will really be India's opportunity to just, get them out as far as their spin bowling repertoire is concerned. Not to say that Australia don't have those options, but, India will keep in mind that they have someone like a Ravindra Jadeja who's used to these conditions a lot, has played for Chennai here, and, knows about the wicket, though that 10 over quota supplemented with another spinner. Those 20 overs, I think, are going to be really decisive as far as this particular contest is concerned, rather than the 30 probably that are going to be taken by the seamers.
Venkat, I wanted to ask you, whenever India and Australia take on each other in Chennai, it's a humdinger of a contest, right? Because we've had a tight test, obviously that is test, but then we've also had the 1987 clash between India and Australia where Alan Border's men barely escaped with a victory by 1 run. Can you just talk about the MA Chidambaram Stadium hosting the India-Australia clash?
Thank you, Mihir. Thank you, Amit. So, it's like as to why Chennai has got the first game. It's like there's a lot of BCCI politics as well involved in it as well, because as we speak, like N. Srinivasan still enjoys a lot of clout in the BCCI, and there is one reason why they were like keen on hosting the opening fixture this time, because they knew for sure that they wouldn't be able to host any of the knockout stages this time, because the World Cup is happening in October, November, and it is going to be monsoon across the country. So there is no choice for TNC other than to host either some plum fixture or the opening fixture, and in the end they ended up getting both. So in terms of Australia, like whenever Australia toured since 2000, I mean, as far as I can remember, since you mentioned 1987 World Cup. Yes, after that when they came again in 1998, they played a test year in Chennai. In 2001, again they played a test year. Then last time when they came as well, they played a ODI, and this year they again played a ODI. 2013, they again have played a test match. So Chennai, it's a stadium. It's one of the iconic stadiums, second world stadium in India, and it has it's a rich history as well. So in that sense, like any other opponent, with all due respect, might have been like sort of a dampener for Chennai crowd, Chepak crowd. So I think India versus Australia opening game for India, it couldn't have got bigger for Chennai. Plus, Chennai loves to see the yellow team in yellow, but for a change, I think they are not gonna get any more whistles this time. It's gonna be like fully gonna be like with blue for a change.
That'll be fascinating if Chennai actually ends up cheering for yellow. Just अगर जो थोड़ा सा memory loss हो जाता है and they realize a little too late. But I mean, from Chennai, India will then move to Delhi, where they'll be playing Afghanistan. And I mean, if we look at the way the schedule is drawn strictly from an Indian point of view, in terms of the venue chosen, the kind of pitch that will be on offer, Rahul, this is like one of the two tricky ties. I mean, the second one we'll come on to a little later. That's against New Zealand in Dharamshala. But Afghanistan in Delhi can't be so straightforward, can it?
It won't be. It definitely won't be, Mihir. And the reason for that being the two spinners that Afghanistan have, which Gujarat Titans had this time around in IPL, Rashid Khan and Noor Ahmed. And the fact that the Delhi wicket is spin conducive wicket and, was a lot more tricky even for the home side in the IPL for this time around to handle. I remember covering one of the Shane Watson press conferences towards the end of the IPL, and he was really fuming with the conditions that were on offer, saying the fact that, it's probably good if you have a lot of Indian top order batters in your lineup, but the fact that Delhi didn't have that didn't help them as far as their home fixtures was concerned. And just to give a point, Delhi lost 5 out of their 7 home matches this time around. But it isn't a guarantee that if you have a lot of Indian batters, which in international cricket means an Indian team, it'll be an easy task for them to play on the surface. It hasn't been for the Indian top order batters of late. There wasn't much grass on offer the last time we saw cricket in Delhi. And the reason for that was associated with a lot of heat. But now that the summer hasn't been as hot as it's usually experienced in Delhi, it will be interesting to see how, things in October pan out. The conditions will be very different from what they are in Chennai weather-wise when India travel. So, of course, again, those 40% of overs which India face up against Rashid and Noor. And, they alternate really well, which is something, Afghanistan would have seen in the IPL. So how they use them against the Indian top order, whether they bring them in early with the new ball or whether they just hold them back a little and give the pacers a chance as well. It's going to be exciting to see because India of late against spin haven't been doing really well.
Right. From there on, we'd like to move to the next game, the big one between India and Pakistan, one of the four marquee clashes of the whole tournament, which has been allotted to Ahmedabad. Venkat, an India-Pakistan game in Ahmedabad?
Well, I mean, it's anyone you ask today, they will take it because like 130,000 capacity stadium. Yes, but personally, I would have loved to see India-Pakistan match happening in Eden Gardens, like in 2016 T20 World Cup. One of the best memories of that game is like Amitabh Bachchan was started with the singing the national anthem, and that sort of like it was like goosebump moment. It was. I don't get usually goosebumps when national anthem is played, but that evening it was like literally you had goosebumps with nearly like 80,000 singing along. So like we came across during the IPL, a lot of the players were saying like, listen, yes, the stadium is huge, it's humongous and everything else, but Ahmedabad doesn't sort of create the sort of atmosphere most big stadiums do. But India versus Pakistan, come on, I'm not gonna believe that. It's gonna be a beast over there. It's gonna be like a huge, considering like it's Pakistan are playing in India after like since for the first time since 2016 T20 World Cup, so it's gonna be huge. And also remember like when Pakistan last toured India for a bilateral series in 2012, 2013, Ahmedabad ended up hosting one of the T20s or ODIs if I remember, and even then it was like it made for a terrific atmosphere. So expect something similar, but I would just like to see like India, Pakistan again coming back and playing the final again. That would be like the mother of all finishes for any World Cup. Last year we saw something in Qatar, but this time two arch rivals going against each other. That would be like for a fascinating. It will I don't know, like whenever the India Pakistan World Cup match happens, they say like this cup subcontinent comes to a standstill. But imagine if it is happening in the final. I don't know, like probably like they will like social media might end up having, be it Twitter, be it Instagram, they might end up having new servers. I don't think they are gonna like put up the traction they are gonna get on the evening.
Let's not get greedy, Venkat, because the problem right now is that Pakistan are not really keen to travel to Ahmedabad even for the first match. I mean, I guess it must be posturing at the moment, but there is controversy on them traveling to. I mean, they've been against playing in Ahmedabad for some reasons since day one, and it's just the politics of it. Because Wasim Akram, for example, has said that why the fuss? I mean, we played in Ahmedabad before. Why are we creating a fuss now? So, I mean, in a way has already kind of given an edge to this tie. But in case, right, in an extreme scenario where Pakistan, if their government says that, okay, we'll not be playing India in Ahmedabad, Venkat, do they forfeit the match? Or, I mean, will India be awarded 2 or 3 points or whatever the format is in the World Cups? What happens in case there is a no-show from Pakistan?
Well, again, like we go by what we gather is like Pakistan have agreed to come to India. They are not like willing to play in a third country as of now. But as you mentioned, Mihir, like there is still concern about Ahmedabad as a venue because Najam Sethi in an earlier interview to the Indian Express had revealed like why they are hesitant to come and play the game against India at Ahmedabad. So their preference has been like to play in Calcutta or in Chennai or Bangalore or Hyderabad, one of the southern states. So there's still like a lot of anxiety around that fixture. All of it will continue, I believe, will continue to the 11th hour. I believe only when Pakistan sends a security team over here, as that has been the routine for years now. So only when they give a go-ahead, Pakistan will travel. It's important to remember, like last time, Pakistan didn't even leave Karachi airport until the security team like cleared, like, okay, let's not keep the matches in Dharamshala, let them fly to Calcutta. Only after they went to Calcutta, after they sat down with their local government and state government and then gave a green signal, they flew in. So it could be like something that could happen this time as well, because especially given there is like a lot happening in Pakistan as well in terms of political developments, and this sort of a thing will always exist between India and Pakistan to the 11th when you're not really sure. And then we all know what Shahid Afridi said last time. He lands up here in Calcutta and says like, we feel more welcomed in India than in Pakistan. So that's like, imagine now Babar Azam coming and saying like, yeah, listen, we are allowed more here. That would like again be bonkers again. So this sort of a things that happens in the subcontinent all the time. But again, this is gonna like go down to the wire here, like in terms of like whether the match will go ahead or not. So in case if the Pakistan secretary team says like, okay, let's not have it in Ahmedabad, varies. Because from what we see, we've been reading reports that in Ahmedabad, most of the hotels have been pre-booked for the set date, and they are being sold at like 5x rates and so on. So imagine if that game is like sort of doesn't happen in Ahmedabad, it's gonna leave a deep hole in a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that happening. Realistically, I don't see that happening. A shift in venue.
Yeah, and also as far as forfeiting is concerned, I don't think Pakistan will be asked to forfeit 3 points. It's not like they're refusing to travel to India. It's like they're just saying like, listen, we have security issues. We need a different venue. Give us Calcutta. That's what their like negotiation will be. They're not gonna like forfeit a game. And come on, the broadcasters are also not gonna like let Pakistan forfeit a game, because that's what their like entire World Cup more is based on, like this one game.
Just to add a few sparks to that, gents, the match is going to take place on Babar Azam's birthday, so that'll be something to see for Pakistan fans. Yeah.
All right. So one way or another, when India play Pakistan or either they don't play Pakistan, we should expect a meltdown and sparks will fly. But let's move on to another, a potentially tricky fixture for India. India taking on New Zealand in Dharamshala on October 22nd. A picturesque venue, but a banana peel for India could be in the offing. Rahul, can you take us through the fixture?
Yeah, absolutely, Amit. I think, New Zealand have been a banana peel for long for India as far as ICC tournaments are considered. They were, of course, the team India played last in an ODI World Cup, and not many of us would want to remember that particular fixture. But anyways, one of the similarities and one of the fears for India going into this contest will be the clouds, which was a big factor the last time India and New Zealand played. Of course, a game that was played over 2 days, and a one-day fixture played over 2 days, which decided the fate of the second finalist in 2019 World Cup. But in Dharamshala, a wicket that offers a lot of bounce and is conducive to fast bowlers, and New Zealand do have a daunting pace attack for that matter. So it's going to be a tricky one, especially if there's a cloud cover on. But if it isn't, and this being, of course, a game that starts at around 1:32 p.m., it's going to be a lot easier for batters if there will be good, clear skies atop with the sun shining. Coincidentally, I think, New Zealand were the team that India last played on this ground as far as ODI cricket was concerned, if I'm not wrong. It was in October 2016. I think Venkata and I were talking about this, that not a lot of ODI matches have taken place at this venue, especially during that time of the year. So, to get used to the conditions will also be something that India will have to keep in mind all throughout the tournament, because, these grounds are going to have a lot different to offer. And I think, it'll be interesting to see how the pacers get used to these conditions. And I think one of the fixtures where India may lose points, it can be this particular one.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mention the conditions, of course, because while the 2 p.m. starts will give batsmen some advantage early on, I'll be interested to see, because this will be like the onset of winter, if not full-fledged winter. So evening, the conditions will be slightly nippy. We'll see how that affects the play in Dharamshala. So that's another element to this tie. But we move on to the match against England. And Venkat, I was fascinated because I was always thinking here, how do these guys come up with venues? How do they decide we'll play X team at Y venue or whatever? And clearly there has been proper thought process going on, because Australia they're playing against on a pitch that is kind of on a slower side. And England, other team with a very good pace attack, they're playing them on a pitch that so far had a reputation of being sluggish. And right now, we don't know how the Lucknow pitch will be because it's the square is being relayed. So, but it's still, carefully chosen venue.
Definitely, Mihir, definitely. I think a lot of like planning would have gone into that end because last time during the last World Cup in England, India and England ended up playing in Headingley, if I'm not wrong, and then where one side of the boundaries was like very, very short. That meant India's both the spinners, Kuldeep Yadav, Chahal, Jadeja, who are, I think it was like two spinners, yeah, they were nullified by the English even before a ball was ball. So remember, this was like peak Kuldeep and Kulcha was going on like crazy. There were like a lot of hopes on them, but they couldn't like deliver on the day when it mattered. So I think it came down to that, okay, yes, it is the ICC World Cup. There is no real home advantage, but everybody knows deep down, like, yes, hosting nations do tend to get certain leeway. And in terms of picking the venues for their own games, and this one against England, I think they couldn't have asked for a better venue. I think Devendra Pandey reported on the possibility of like India playing on slow pitches against like top teams. And this Lucknow just fits into that category perfectly as well. Why? Because you have like England's strong suitors, like not just pace attack, but their batsmen like when the pitch is like flat and they like to like be at their free flowing best. At Lucknow, if the pitches are like in the same like we saw during the IPL, that's not gonna happen. It's gonna like grip and turn and it's gonna keep low. This is not the sort of thing that Jason Roy or like Joe Root, Ben Stokes isn't available in the squad. Maybe I'm really hoping that he makes a comeback to the ODI setup and just plays the World Cup. But again, if you even others, you like Josh Butler, whoever it is, they're not gonna like the slow nature of this wicket. It's gonna be akin like some ODIs happening in Bangladesh. It's like similar sort of wicket with black soil content. It's gonna keep low. And then if you're gonna, I think that's a game India would be like, I think would be playing at least three spinners over there. I think they will play Ravindra Jadeja, Kuldeep Yadav, and Yuzvendra Chahal if all three are part of the squad. And you couldn't get more variety than this. You'll have everything, you have the bases covered, and then it comes down to just like subtle variations. And I think these guys will like, if the pitches are like gonna be like slow, I don't think this will be a tricky clash for India. India will like think, okay, we are gonna like get 2 points out of this.
All right. Next, we move on to Kolkata, where the Eden Gardens will welcome India and South Africa. Now, for South Africa, this is going to be, there is a tinge of history for South Africa because when they were readmitted to cricket in 1991, this was the first venue, in fact, where they played a game. Rahul, how are we gearing up for India, South Africa?
Well, India, South Africa, of course, Amit, has a whole lot of history at this particular venue. You know, the 2010 Test match also comes to mind. And in all the historic games that you remember at Eden Gardens, spin, used to be one of the major factors. And it's not that simple. It was one of the strips that were demonized by none other than their own captain as far as the recent IPL was concerned. We all remember Nitish Rana's infamous comments after one of the matches. He wasn't happy with the curator. He wasn't happy with the surface. They had 3 good spinners in their team, but the wicket wasn't one with respects to that. So South Africa will be happy with that, given the variety in pace that they have in offer. But at the same time, I think, India won't be that worried. We've seen in the ODIs that were played early on during this year, I think, the kind of white ball attack, as far as the paces are concerned with India, even without Jasprit Bumrah, they seem to be doing good. But now with the news of, Bumrah's fitness coming into light and how he started bowling and can be expected back as of September. So, all of that kept into account, I think, India will have both kind of arsenals in their offering. And I think, as far as the batters are concerned, dew will be again a factor on this surface. So toss again, I think Venkata spoke about this in the earlier pod that we did in delivery, that, one of the troubles of having a World Cup in October, November in India is that toss is going to play a big, big factor. And as far as India and its history in the World Cups and toss is concerned, it's not been the best, let's say, over the last few years. But let's hope Rohit Sharma's fate turns out different in this World Cup. Of course, he won the toss in the recent ICC Championship fixture that India played. But yeah, fingers crossed.
Amazing. So I guess we've covered the major venues and the big matches. We have, of course, not spoken about the Bangladesh match, which will be in Pune, and the two ties against the qualifiers in Mumbai and Bangalore, respectively, because at least in terms of the conditions, there isn't a lot of intrigue over there. But of course, there is so much more to talk about and dissect regarding the World Cup, and we'll be doing it in the days to come. It's less than 100 days now, if my calculation is right. And the excitement is already building up. This was about the venues today, and as we learned, conditions do apply here. Thanks a lot, Rahul and Venkat and Amit, for taking us through this. Thanks a lot, all of you, for listening and tuning into the Express Sports Podcast. We'll be back with a new episode next week.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Abhishek Kumar and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it, share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.